Thank you. It's great pleasure to come back and talk to all of you. Some of you have uh, listened to me the last time where I talked about something which is very, very Indian. Hopefully, this time you will hear a little international version, yeah, of what I'm going to talk about. Uh, the reason why I did not want to give anything more is that if there is only so much and you tell everything, then there is nothing to tell when the main program comes. So I told him, hold on, I'll explain, and this is easy to understand and this is easy to follow. So don't worry, it's not a complex economist slide that you'll have to go through many times over and still not understand. So this is fairly easy stuff, as compared to that. That's what we have to do. And this all context of this particular presentation is that I was coming close to my career end with Mahindra, and we have an annual event which is called the M101. Yeah. In that 101 leaders across the group come, and I present this to the leaders. Yeah. And Anand that kind of thought, Ki Partha, we are meeting in Rome this time. And given that Rome, Michelangelo, etc., can you think of a theme which is closer to the heart, but give them some message for them to remember this particular thing by, but not just for this year, but let it be like a kind of everything that you have seen. Okay, you have played various functions, you've been a CEO yourself, you have been CEO of CEOs, you've been a CFO, group CFO, you've been a CFO within the group. So all this, how do we bring that together? So that's the context what it does. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So that's what. So when we went to thing, I just thought about Fibonacci.
Okay,
and
great.
I said, oh, this particular thing is but nothing but a golden ratio. Okay. And a golden ratio can be defined as many things, but here broadly it's 1.62 as a ratio which comes to. So in a sense, you can kind of jump ahead very much more, and it can be in symmetry, both with life and with, yeah. Arun, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay. So it is in symmetry both with life and with nature. So, and I thought that that's a good theme as any to kind of look at. Yeah. So that's the start point of that. So what I thought was kind of these are some of the things which depicts the golden ratio. Okay. So, and this is in symmetry with nature, symmetry with life, symmetry with self. So you are at peace with yourself. So what I said is, therefore, I kind of posed that question to them that if I were to kind of tell you that, this is what we need to say. So I said, okay, let me introduce another concept to you from that part of the world itself, which I called as 5 nuance, which is PHI, pi nuance. Yeah. So which is kind of called, and I called it 2020 vision. Yeah. And with hindsight, with foresight. And I said, these 5 nuance, PHI, you understand that as a phi, right? Pronunciations may differ in different parts of the world. These are the 5 things which you said. So I said, I'll give you 5 letter words. And if you follow, I think broadly, if you are not successful, it will not be because you have not followed anything. And success should follow. Using an old Indian thing, which says your job is to do karma or do the activity. The results will automatically follow. Karmanye vadikarasye ma phaleshu kadachana. So this particular thing that I'm talking about, 5 nuance, has got 5 letter words, as I said: yield, climb, unmix, fable, and prime. So I said, let me kind of go and talk about each one of them. Okay. And the DYD that you see on the screen is design your destiny. Okay. So if you were to design your destiny, then yield, there is a advertisement of Maruti Suzuki, which is the most successful car company in India. And it says, how much does this car give? Yeah, what is the yield that it gives? Kitna deti hai? So it is a way where we are always concerned about how to get the best yield out of it. Okay. And therefore, one needs to kind of think about yield in your own set of business. How do I get ruthless focus on whatever output metric we have chosen? It could be ROE in most cases, it could even be ROC, and I think it applies to both. And it could be any other metrics like that. But fundamentally, what we need to think about is, how do I put less input into the thing and get the same output, or I can time that input later. So there is time value of money. Similarly, on the output side, more output and output sooner. So if you focus on these four very simple jargons: less input, input later; more output, output sooner. Okay. Let me give an example. I mean, this is on how to get ruthless about it. I joined Mahindra and Mahindra, and the way I joined it is, I was working in Xerox, very successful, very sought after. But then the president of farm equipment sector, a gentleman by the name of Davasia, so he came to Delhi to meet me, and he said, how would you like to be part of making an Indian company, an Indian tractor company, being world number one? And I said, oh, that sounds very attractive. What do you want me to do? He said, come and help me transform my Indian company to be a global multinational, which will be world number one. And so I packed my bags from Delhi, where I was, and came into Mumbai. So as I came in, and I did the transformation job, but that's for another day's discussion. But coming back to it, so it so happened that the industry went for a downturn, and we lost about 30% of volume in the industry. So there was this big question in ourselves, and existence crisis, whether we're going to exist or is going to something take away. And we had to decide what we will do and how will we respond to this. So we put this concept of less input, input later, more output, and output sooner, and devised a company-wide initiative of saying everything we can convert from fixed to variable, we'll do variable to out. And we did actions which were wartime actions, as well as peacetime actions, are more long-term actions as well. So we gave ERS to workers for the first time in the history of Mahindra, which still remains the only term that we gave VRS to workers. We also, rationalized from about 2,700 people to 1,700 people. And product development, we said how will we engage with suppliers so that we can work reward and this and cut down 50% of our product development cost. Of course, when the product gets launched, the sharing of the profit will be slightly more to the supplier, and that is fair thing, because we had to get over this hump where the whole industry was facing a huge loss situation. At the end of the year, the industry did make a 400 crore loss, or 500 crore loss, I'm sorry. And Mahindra made 100 crore profit. So without us, the industry would have made a 600 crore loss. But with us put together, they still made 500 crore loss, and we are the only company making profit. So that is the ruthless focus on ROE and everything under it. And we did this in all of 11 months. Oh. Having set our basic sights on this, we said, what do we think about? So we recognize that our ROS is very good, which is around, at that point, even when we started, it was about 12, 13%. Yeah. And we honestly thought that we were not fully capitalizing on the ROS. And therefore, we put out a plan with new products, with value-added services, etc., that we should be able to take it to 20%. And which we did in a year's time. That was not the difficulty. The more difficult task came in the asset turnover. Asset turnover was something like 1.7. So 1.7 into 12%. So that was whatever it was at that point of time. Okay. So that was our ROC at that point of time. If I do 1.7 into 12, that's roughly about 20%. So nothing to frown about in anything. Of course, if we had made loss, all this would have been negative. And we didn't make quite 12% that year. But starting with about 12-15% ROCE in a year where the whole industry was making loss was no good, no bad deal. But we said, how do we go forward? Then we said, what could we reach in terms of asset turnover? So we found out that the benchmark is about 3 times. Yeah, we could go. John Deere was about 2.5 times or things like that. But we said, oh, we are in a better position than John Deere. We are in a place where we sell 40% market share, so we should be able to manage better, and so on and so forth. So all things put into it, we said, okay, 3 should be possible. And we set about by doing this in terms of receivables. We had a good amount of receivables because we are giving this on credit. But then we said, can we trade off the credit period with giving discounts to dealers so that they can pay upfront? And they also gain a little bit, and we also gain. And we did that and many other initiatives to take us to 3. Then came the question, should we be going on 3? Then we talked about Lean Six Sigma and what it can do just in time, and so on and so forth. And how do we reduce our entire balance sheet, which seems to be a little bit soggy? And we set about doing things which kind of cut things, including when it is required. We said, let's return cash to the parent, and when we need, we'll ask for them, which we thought we'll never need. So it made the balance sheet also lean, and no time we were at 4.5. And then we said, should we rest by that? And we said, no, we appointed one person only to look at how do we increase the asset turn, and said, how can we be benchmark for the company? So when we ended over next 2 years, we are 7 times asset turn, 20% ROS. So if you multiply it, 20 into 7, 140% ROC. Probably the best in the world. And the 3-digit ROC figure is what we said will continue. So this has continued even till date. And it probably achieved, the first 3-digit figure was achieved in 2002, 2003. So if you talk about today, so 20 years on, we still have more than 3-digit ROC year on year. And best years, we could be as high as 140%. And when there was a lean period, lean market, then we could be about 100 plus ROC. So this is the ruthless focus on ROE. And it has a rubbing effect on every company. Auto sector said, if farm equipment could do, why can't I do? And they came out so that they were quickly, no time, 50% ROC. No other auto company had that in India. And therefore we said, oh, this looks like a great proposition. And they even went further than that. So we came out with a norm for the entire group, 50% ROC and 50% margin of safety. First, let me explain margin of safety. The margin of safety was because I had seen physically 30-40% market falling, and that could very well happen in India. How are we resilient even at such time when the market falls by 40-50%? So even if the market falls by 50%, I should be able to hold on to my profit. Maybe small profit, but still profit. And if it is above 50%, yeah, so maybe even if it falls 35% or 40%, we should still make decent profit. So this is what we set out as a group goal. And to my surprise, I found that more than 50% of the group, including companies like Trek Mahindra, another listed company, Mahindra Holidays, so companies like Mahindra Holidays, etc., not small, both big and small, got that 50% ROC mark, and I was very happy. The balance will take a little bit more time to get on because their business models were not proven, and some of them even had loss. But all of them now were aspiring to be 50% ROC or 50% margin of safety. A margin of safety, you clearly understand, it is 1 minus break-even point, so that even if the business falls, you will still make money, you will not make losses. That means you have a nimble business model, you have a variable business model, you have an asset turn which kind of comes in to save you even at tough times, and so on. So that's the Rupa's focus on this. So I would suggest to each one of you who are doing that, put this as your number one metrics on this before you put anything else. Okay. So that's the first, design your destiny. If you want to design your destiny, have a ruthless focus on ROE, ROC, and bring everything to bear to kind of come to a focus which says, I'm the industry best. I'm not determined, or I am not based on what people say. McKinsey says the benchmark is. I'm on what I want to be and what I can be. And it is not in one shot, I will go to glory. I'll work on it. I'll climb mountains and I'll plant the flag one after the other. But when I end up, I'll be the benchmark. And I think that's the thing that you can lead both the CFOs and, as like I told the CEOs, this is your number one focus for the organization. Okay. So then we say, okay, then what? So the next one is climb, which is design your destiny. And that is relentless scaling up. Okay. Let me again take this into some kind of thing. Whenever you are doing very well, and I say in tractors that I do 140%. So should I take all that and be very happy? It's a cash cow. Or should I start looking about what next? What next big? Where should I go? So we decided, for example, that we'll go to US. And then when we set up, we had to make a lot of investments. We said we'll go to implements, which is required, sophisticated implements required from India. We'll go with attachments and as standalone things that will help, like a harvester. So we kind of did length and breadth. We also said we know how to do an engine. So can we do gensets? And then we became a decent player in genset, which was around 2,000 crores of revenue. And at one point, there was an offer on the table that they are willing to invest into that unit, which if you spin off as a company, for 600 million. So creating a $600 million new business. So basically the idea is invest in future. If you can't work, if it doesn't work, fail fast, move left and time right. Okay, so this is one thing. So don't only focus on evolved. Think about what is evolving and what is startup, and then focus on this. So this is one, and the easier one to explain on climb. If you want to design your destiny, don't accept status quo. Don't accept that I'm in a great place, so let me not shake it up by putting good money somewhere else. Unless you take risks and put money somewhere else, your day after tomorrow will not be secure, and then your next decade will not be secure. And by doing this, Mahindra has always had a cash cow and a huge jumper. Initially for group, it was tractor, which supplemented auto, then came Tech Mahindra, then came Mahindra Finance, then came Mahindra Holidays, and so on and so forth. So we need to invest in this. This is one portion of it, but that's not all. And that's only the investment into furthering the top line. But just let's take today, for example. We are seeing that unless we climb and scale up on the artificial intelligence, the AI, the analytics, the things, we will not be able to face tomorrow. So every board that I set now, I ask one question very diligently. How can I have AI increase top line by 30% and reduce cost by 50%? And this is a question which is very pregnant with risks of asking that question, because these are all not small numbers. And suddenly they're saying, how will you increase 30% top line? Yeah. Second is, how will you decrease 50% of costs out from that? And the reason is AI is going to do that whether you like it or not. So better you start investing in AI in order to fail. If you need to put some people as a company onto this and focus on AI, give challenges to startups who are using AI, come them, let them help you. Find any which way you can. The big companies, the small companies, the startup, starting a corporate garage, all of them is okay to answers. Take it, invest in that. If it's failing, fail fast. Move left, time right. Again, basically back to the same thing. So a funny thing happened. When I said this, obviously everyone was very skeptical that, Partha, do you know this is more talk that goes on? This is more hype and this is more repackaging. So none of this is going to happen. Maybe 5 years from now, something will happen, but not today. But after having thought about it, here are some of the things that I've seen. One is in one of the companies, I don't want to name them because these are all confidential company. They took it to heart and put somebody on it. They realized that they are spending $200,000 for acquiring a new customer. Obviously, this new customer would stay with them for life. So it's a money well spent. But nevertheless, it's $200,000. So they then started putting, how can AI help bring down this cost and also engage with customers better? So it was a combination. Yeah. So what happened is that the AI became an executive coach to the salesperson. It helped, he or she helped, the digital resource helped the salespeople to coach and coach them for every meeting with the customer, anticipate all their questions and needs, etc. And more importantly, when they had to write a report, it used to take them 100 days to submit a proposal. Now, based on the fact that they had an AI assistant who was going through the ropes with them, when the start point of writing up came, you gave a debrief. The same debrief was given to AI, and lo and behold, 45 minutes later, the whole proposal was ready. What it has an ability, or it has the future, is to bring down the cost from $200,000 to $50,000. Wow. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that we're saying. And now I'm so excited with whatever they are proposing, and I'm pleading with the chairman. Can we give them more room? Can we invest more on ideas that they are saying? Okay. And don't think that I'm like a hero in a room full of skeptics. There were so many enthusiasts in the room at that point of time in the boardroom that it was not how much, why this much, but how to do it in a way that we don't trip over ourselves. So finding move left, time right, not in terms of how do we do that. Other thing is in terms of a logistic company, and they were doing here, load accumulation. And I asked them that, who do you go up? And they were going about customers who had a revenue of, say, $500 million a year and also had certain amount of business in a year. And I said, what about 200 to 500 million? They said they are not our customers. And then I asked them, what if digital, you put a AI-based digital thing and they go after these customers? And now what your salespeople can't do, can this do? And there is no downside to it. Let's think. They've done it. So what the person who is doing it says that, Partha, 3 years from now, I'll get $50 million as EBITDA. And I'm just thinking in my mind, if I put 10 times multiple also, it's a 500 million market cap increase. And these are all possible. And this is only two examples in the last 3 years that I'm giving you. But there are many examples. There are many failures too. Don't for a moment doubt that. But there's huge amount of relentless scaling up on it. The third dimension is about people and is about investments. Yeah, in other areas other than just business. I think people deserve the same kind of climb. And whether it's corporate garage or you funding them, it's about time we thought beyond. So this is the second kind of thing. The third is unmix. Unmix, I did it because I needed a word which is of 5 letters. Yeah, so I put unmix. Basically, it means please reduce complexity. There is no other person who is going to come and reduce complexity. You got to reduce the complexity. Acts the complex, maze completely slows the pace, and you don't know what you're doing. And if you then get rid of everything, then all the bad practices, then suddenly there is huge amount of light. Let me give you an example. We were all doing quality is important and it's come from time immemorial. So we had for each plant about 4 to 5 people who did quality. So we had 20 plants. So 5 into 20, 100 people. Now, what we said is we already have all the, cameras and everything. So now it's a modern world. Second is we don't need to do the kind of checks we need to do. So what can we take away? What can we do? And then we said we are going to reduce complexity, empowered teams, and there is a central team which will observe failures, etc. And then they can all plans can get on to AVC, and this central quality team can tell them. And eventually it came to 10 people in the central quality team. So we were able to reduce manpower by 90 because of the simple simplicity initiatives. The other thing we found that our span of control is 2.7 in another business, big business. And span of control is that less than 3 people to every manager. And then what is happening? Too many people who have individual roles. What we did is just changed it around and they said, nope, I'm going to reduce the number of people who have individual roles because they may create work for everybody else. Third is we said what are the approvals not required. We made the entire employee approvals a redundant thing that they can self-approve, and there will be a system audit which will be done through a digital means where it crawls to all the papers and come back and tell us. And if we found anybody took advantage of the system, we made an example out of them just to give a message. But we always told we trust you, but we will also verify. So that gave us the complexity reduction is such a big deal. It's such a big deal. Think of the smile on your employees' faces when you say, you don't have to do these many things in a month. It reduces layers and your line of sight to customer improves, your systems become cleaner, etc., etc. So that's the third one, which is unmixed. So let me go to the fourth one, which is fable. And what fable means that how do we make stories, good narrative to work for us and almost create the kind of brand that all good brand companies create. They tell great stories. Infosys tells great stories about it, and everybody then benchmark Infosys and says, yeah, Infosys is a great company. They did great work, but they did great stories as well, good narratives. When I went to an Infosys once, they took me through, as they were treating me as an investor, they took me through pit stops. Each of those pit stop has somebody coming and telling me a story, which conveyed what they stood for. So by the time I ended up to the conference room to get to the meeting, I already had narratives and stories which were telling us. In a sense, our walk to future is lighted by the fables of the past. So how do we tell this story? Tell them well and tell them always. So each CFO has to be a bard. We have the investors who come to us. We have the bankers who come to us. We have the external people who come to us. And if we develop fables for them, and when you have fables, your unmix becomes a great example of creating fables, how you work for people rather than make them work. And this goes narrative. And I used to tell stories of how Mahindra, stood for great work. I've told that same kind of stories in the board that I work, and I'll happily, if I had time, for each of the companies that I'm the board of, the narrative for them I do. For example, I'm working for a social work called Computer Siksha. It plans to engage every underprivileged school child and give free computer education so that when they come out of schools, they are prepared to take on an AI world. Yeah, 10, 12, 15 years from now. And this particular thing that we are doing is we are doing free of cost, without internet, without them having to purchase costly computers or costly software, or needing to have internet or a trained teacher. So we made the narrative is, you need help, we got a solution which is scalable and takes you many parts away. And I ran Mumbai Marathon with this thing, and lo and behold, it cost only 20,000 to do a school, and I had 65 lakh rupees, which I collected during this Mumbai Marathon run this year. So you can put fable to work, and our path walks to the future will be lighted by the fables of the part. Many of us have seen the Mona Lisa smile, and we have, been enchanted by it. We have questioned ourselves, what do we see so beautiful about this smile? What is that we are not seeing, which others are seeing? The key thing is, it's become a legend. Everyone sees Mona Lisa and sees the smile to mean what it means to him or her. And that's the fable, that's the brand that created. The fifth one that I can talk about is corporate governance. All the four that we said, yield, climb, unmix, fable, all of them we can do very well. But unless our governance premium is not done well, then all the other fours multiplied by zero will be zero. And therefore, we have to get this right first time, every time. And corporate premium is not a governance premium, is not a concept. It's ideas in action. For example, let's say when we talk about corporations, do we talk about ESG as if we own that whole piece? And how do we make them come through? Okay. I'm attending an ESG workshop just now where they said, where compliance stops, where compliance stops, governance starts. I have a different thought. I think compliance is the rule book, which is easy to do, but important to do, because that's a base. On that, you can build governance. So compliance is a rule book, governance is the gospel. Compliance as the holy ground, and mind you, it's holy ground, compliance. Compliance is the holy ground, and governance as the high ground on the holy ground. Okay, so this particular thing, you as CFO, if you, kind of enhance, then not only will the corporate premium happen, not only will the brand happen, but even you in the fraternity, in the community, in the company, in the industry, in your country, will be seen with a different lens, where you stand for governance at the highest level. It means being zero tolerances on non-compliances. It means that we every time think from a point of view that governance comes before everything. I had a funny story to say that I was sitting in a boardroom once, and there was this proposal which somebody was to bring in, and I was very worried. And I said, can I not be given more time to look at it before the board considers this? Because if you say no, yes, then I can't say no. And they said, no, Partha, everything can't wait. Sometimes we have to bet for speed. And honestly, as I'm telling, we need speed. So where is the question of me coming in the way? So agile is important, Satan. So I said yes. And while talking, I said, you know what? I had a quick glance, and I was thinking there may be some governance angle to it. I used the word angle. I didn't say governance issue. I said governance angle to it. And that's why I wanted to kind of get some time. But if you want to go ahead, I will not stand in the way. I will support this. The word governance angle created sudden hush in the room that the last part my word seemed very loud. And here I was hoping, said, I have a seat on the table because I'm a KMP, I'm a CFO, but I'm not a director of this company. And I had no place to make these kind of statements here. And I would say, oh my God, why doesn't that swallow me? Because I want to be anywhere but here. But the chairman turned and said, Partha, why don't you take some time, do this? And what I would request every board member that once you are ready, let's call for a special meeting because I still want it done fast. But please go through it, make yourself comfortable on the governance angle. I don't think there is a problem, but I don't want to presume. And that word is like the Andon's bell of Toyota. The entire company will stop if you ring that bell. The word, if you say this word here, the entire thing will stop till you tell me that there is no governance issue. And that I think was that's the kind of thing you want to create in a company where it's seen like that. It's easier said than done. And that's why I want to take this not only to you, I'll say the same to the CEO, because this is a place where partnership is required across the group. But you are the board, you are the catalyst. In Hindi, if I were to talk about, you are the Neelkant, yeah, somebody who drinks the poison so that his throat becomes blue, but the rest of the body is saved because he drank that poison. So you are that person who has to drink the poison to keep the organization better. So those are the 5 things. Governance has many more facets, but I think some of these we can kind of think about in question answers. So if I were to recapitulate what I said, action for 2020 is a vision backwards, right? When you say what is your eyesight? You say 2020. So I want to say, if you want to have life vision at 2020, you need to look at yield, climb, unmix, fable, and prime. Thank you.